So the launch of the 2022 schoolboy football season took place today at the National Stadium, an event that featured prominent members of the local football fraternity as well as members of the government, local government, in what will be the first full season post-pandemic. Anticipation high for the upcoming campaign. Now our reporter Brian Peter was there, and he'll give us some details in a short while, George and Mariah, but I saw you being the MC for this function today, and you seem to have enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, it's been. I don't like to do MC duties. I tell people that, you know, people always want you to MC weddings and so forth. I tell them that I'm past that stage in life now. Yeah? Yeah. But I really rather enjoy doing this.
I could see that actually.
I like
Did
MCing.
you hear all the football jokes?
Yes, I heard a few of them.
I like emceeing big events, you know, and this was a big event. It was really good. The audience filled up nicely. The great and the important people in football, the sponsors, more than anybody else, they were there and supporting. And the youngsters were there, coaches were there. It was a real good occasion. I tell you something that we didn't capture on camera. When the camera stopped rolling, everything was finished, and the reporters were doing some post-event interviews with Ricketts, and Brian was doing interviews for us and so forth. I saw a young man coming up to me, breathless. He said, "Excuse me, sir, I just got here. I'm coming from Happy Grove, and I got here late because of the road out east." And I said, "Yeah, I understand. If you're coming from St. Thomas, where the road work is going on, you're understandably late." So he said he had some information and he wanted to know what to do because he had come so far and spent so long trying to get here. It would have been tragic were he to go back home without his business fixed, addressed. So I looked for the head of the Costa Cup, Linvern Wright, and put him on to him, and they exchanged information, and the man left and gave me the thumbs up. So apparently he met success. So that was good.
Well, that's good on you.
You know that Happy Grove is the former school of the tearaway West Indies fast bowler Patrick Patterson.
Patrick Rambo
Before
Patterson,
he went to Wolmer's and then Excelsior.
Patrick Rambo Patterson. Oh, and I can tell you that the Happy Grove High School, to continue with them, when I was working in government for 2 years, I had occasion to go out that side for an exhibition one Saturday afternoon, and I went to the school compound. It's one of the best places to go to school. The setting, it's idyllic, and I really like it. So I wish Happy Grove.
I remember doing a radio, the Costa Cup commentary game at Happy Grove once. I think I went there once.
But we need the East to rise, Lance. The East haven't been answering the call where the Costa Cup is concerned, and we hope that this year something from the East, not since Jermaine Jerry Hugh was with St. Thomas Technical. Did the East have a team that was punching real hard? I know Seaforth has been rising, and a couple other schools, but led by Seaforth.
Which team did Fancy Hugh Stewart play for?
Fancy Hugh Stewart, I think he went to, it may have been, wasn't it St. Thomas Technical? No?
Could have been, yeah. He had a fairly good season, and then did well in the Digicel Elite League, and went to Reno. And then went to Reno, yeah.
So there you go. But it was a lovely occasion. How did it look on TV?
Very good. Yeah, I thought it was good. The JFF president's a bit late though, George.
Yes, my crickets held us up. So I was there trying to buy time for his arrival, and then I was going to start at 10:03, 3 minutes beyond the scheduled start time. Then I had to delay it further. But by about 10:15, he had taken his place, and then he was there to start proceedings.
Yeah, well, he's under a lot of stress, isn't he? My cricket.
Did you ask him?
Probably trying to take.
I didn't trouble him. I didn't trouble him.
Some reggae boys' business in Austria.
I didn't trouble him.
I think the wrap is ready. So let's see what our team sent for us.
Yeah.
The new schoolboy football season was launched in a live televised ceremony inside the National Stadium in Kingston early on Wednesday. A member of the cabinet was joined by the head of the Jamaica Football Federation, the head honchos at ISSA, plus representatives of the sponsors to usher in a new campaign that promises more thrills and excitement for the fans. The feeling at the launch was that fans will be in for a treat in the first full season since the pandemic wiped out 2020 edition. The feelings at the launch was that fans will be in for a treat in the first full season since the pandemic wiped out the 2020 edition and led to the downsizing of a 2021 campaign that was completed early this year. The ManningCup competition will feature 37 teams split into 6 groups. The top 16 teams will then advance to the second round of the competition. From there, the 8 best teams will be split into 2 groups of 4 to contest the quarter-final round. The first and second place teams in each group will advance to the semi-finals, where the respective winners will compete for the ManningCup title. The Da Costa Cup will feature a similar format, but will be contested by 81 schools. The man in charge of Jamaica's national football program, Michael Ricketts, underscored the importance of the schoolboy football competitions to the development of the game.
Because a number of times it's the school that really has access to unearthing these talented players, and a number of times we only know of them at the completion of the Costa Cup or ManningCup. But I think it has supported our national units very well, and our under-17 youngsters will start preparing for World Cup qualifiers. In fact, the qualifiers take place in February in Guatemala, and I'm hopeful that a number of young players would emerge from this season's Da Costa and ManningCup, so that these coaches can actually integrate them and have them being part of our under-17 setup. So ISSA certainly would identify these talented players, and of course it's then up to the clubs and certainly the JFF to harness and expose these talents.
President of the Intersecondary School Sports Association, Keith Wellington, says he's eager to see what the new season will bring.
We expect that there's going to be a lot of enthusiasm. We also look at the quality that we had last year, quality on the field, quality production in terms of SportsMax bringing the games to the public. And I think that if we are able to sustain and improve on that this year, I think we are going to have a really, really good season. We are going to have a longer season because we're going to start in September and go right down to the end, middle of December. And so we are really looking forward to how all of this works. What we are looking forward to most of all is to see the fans returning to the stands, supporting their teams and supporting the ISSA program.
The schoolboy football season kicks off on September 10 and runs through to the middle of December. Your Home of Champions will provide world-class coverage where we will produce 65 live games over the course of the season. Join us on SportsMax, SportsMax app and the SportsMax YouTube page for the best of the action. Clarendon College, Kingston College, St. Catherine High, Edwin Allen High and Garvey Maceo won the various trophies last season and enter this campaign with targets on their back. Who among them will repeat? And which other teams will step forward to claim glory in this new campaign? Keep it locked to the Home of Champions for all the answers.
Thank you for that wrap there, Brian Pitter. And of course, George, we heard from our CEO, Nicholas Matthews. He spoke about last year the amount of work that SportsMax put into ISSA Schoolboy Football, the fact that we broadcasted 55 matches, and this season we're going to send it up a notch and of course to 65, which will be 65 top-class broadcasted matches.
Yeah, I must say that today we saw the checks being wheeled out.
Lots of money.
Yeah, the Digicel check had 84 million on it, of course. I mean, Digicel is unmatched. I mean,
84 million?
84 million. They're really spending heavily. Wisynco is spending 36 per year over a 3-year deal. So that's 3 6s 18, 3 3s 9 and 1 10. That's 108 million over 3 years from Wisynco. And then our CEO reminded me that, George, our sponsorship is 30 million over 3 years in sponsorship alone, which is why he had a 10 million check today. So Nick Matthews, so 10 million check, 30 million in direct sponsorship over 3 years. For production, it costs us $90 million over the 3 years to produce the schoolboy football competition for broadcast. That takes our total contribution in cash terms to 120 million over 3 years. That's absolutely huge. And Lance, you've been with this schoolboy football competition since the days of radio only. Yeah?
Yes.
Ed Barnes was the first man to authorize the broadcast of schoolboy football matches on radio.
Yes.
You've seen this thing develop through the decades. Imagine, Lance, you are living in the era and still working in the field in the time when you can be in Balaclava, sitting in the bush on your mobile device, and you're watching live schoolboy football. I know that you're a man who's always with the times, but it must be, you must smile to yourself when you realize where it has come from when you and your partners were out on the top of a broadcast truck, sitting precariously, broadcasting the games for radio, to this stage where you can be in all kinds of weather, where you can now be watching it on your mobile device.
Yeah, and there was a time when I was sitting on the radio sports desk at RJR, and to get the results of the matches, we would call the police stations in the different districts because the police would be deployed to be security for matches. So when the matches ended, we waited until the policemen returned to the police posts, and they would give us the results of the matches. Now we see the matches on TV.
Yeah, again, and excellent. And that's why I was telling the people today, Mariah, the audience, the guests at the launch, that what SportsMax is doing in concert with Digicel, who's providing the platform for us to be able to broadcast the games nationwide and outside of the Jamaica, it is nothing short of tremendous in every sense of the word, because you heard Lance talk about the police giving the score so he could broadcast
delayed results.
Listen to this. The same man whose brainchild that approach was, by the time I got into the business, and he was leading my sports department at Nationwide, and 4 of us, he said the task is to get, if there were 60 games played, he said the 4 of us are going to get all 60 results before the sportscast started. We didn't have internet. So I said, how are we going to get it? He said, okay, listen, right beside the football field where this game is going to be played, there is a man who runs a shop. I have his number. I'm going to give you the number. You call the man, tell him I asked him to assist you. He will send a little boy from his shop to go to the game, ask the score, come back and tell us the score, and that man will get the right score. And that was how we got the results. That was... I came into this.
That supplemented the police.
Yes, because we depended on the police a lot. That was in 2000. We were doing that as recently as 2006. That was how we were getting results.
I was talking 80s actually.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, but
the
that
broadcast
just shows how quickly now that we came into the business and we're able to turn things around, because I can watch all the matches at the same time and give teams results live while I'm broadcasting on the show.
Of course, mobile phones and internet, would have just changed the entire landscape as well.
But the point I'm making is this. I remember we were on our way to Chicago for some basketball assignment, a basketball assignment. And I saw a security guard at a carousel in Atlanta. He was guarding the carousel, making sure no funny business. And he saw us in the gear. He said, oh, SportsMax, oh, George, watch you on the zone all the time. And he was saying to me that, boy, the best thing that SportsMax did was to put the games, the football on the app.
Yes.
So he said that during breaks, he said he was on dog duty sometime. He said he would lock the dog in a room, give him something to eat, and go somewhere else and watch the football.
I understand.
So it is tremendous, and the season promises to be really, really good. The play has advanced to reflect the quality of the broadcast. The broadcast is world class, and the play at this level is of the very highest standards. Trinidad and Tobago, the SSFL, is coming in this direction as well, so there's massive improvements there by virtue of the work that we've been able to do there with our partners, and I can't wait for this season to start.
Yeah, and you mentioned Trinidad and Tobago. One of the most satisfying things coming out of our coverage of schoolboy football is how well it is being received throughout the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I talk to people in Barbados, Grenada, Antigua and Barbuda, and they are thrilled and impressed with the quality of football and the coverage. So that tells us that the product is exciting and is attractive not only to a Jamaican audience.
Yeah, definitely, because recently on In Case You Missed It as well, I interviewed one of the TNT athletes after the football season just ended, and he was saying that, it's so much easier for him now because, they're looking for scouts, they're looking to get to the next level, and now that they have the footage available to them, because remember, it's not only on the app, they can go to YouTube to see back the highlights and stuff, so it makes his life so much easier than to ask a brethren, to sit by the TV and record, or let me rewind, and you can only rewind up to a certain point in time. So this also is helping the athletes, to get to the next step.
Yeah. So how are we doing this coverage, viewers, you may ask? So remember, SportsMax used to, last season, there was a live YouTube stream of games. We're repeating that in the new season. What we're also doing is that, as Mariah told you, we did 55 games in total, live games. We're doing 65 games, so we're doing 10 more games. The good thing is that don't expect that it's only the heralded schools who will be featured in those live games. So you'd say, it's only the KC and Georges and JC. and Clarendon College and Cornwall College and the big schools from rural Jamaica, Rossies and so forth will be featured.
You didn't mention Jonathan Grant, George.
I was going to mention that Jonathan Grant.
Oh, you were?
Jonathan Grant.
As a big team?
Yes, sir. Jonathan Grant. It's my school, so it has to be a big team. Jonathan Grant will be in the mix as well. If you go to Bogwalk High, you're likely to see your team and give them the matchup. If you go to Malden, one of those schools. So we are spreading the thing. So we went from 55 last year in a truncated season. We're doing 65 this year, and it is set to increase until we're covering it like grass, like alfalfa grass on a pasture. That is the aim of SportsMax. Again, if you have the Digicel service, and you should have the Digicel service. If you don't have Digicel service now, get Digicel service, because Digicel works best with SportsMax. I mean, any internet you have, it will work good, but if you have Digicel, it works best with the SportsMax package. You download the SportsMax app and you have the power of the app in your hands. You have the schoolboy football coverage like it has never been shown before. And remember, you have competitions. You have the Walker Cup Lance, you have the ManningCup Mariah, you have the Da Costa Cup, you have the Champions Cup, you have the Olivier Shield. The teams are fighting for all those trophies, and the good thing with how the competitions are set out, Lance, is that I like the way the competitions have been formatted, because I don't like to see one team hoovering up all of the titles available in the corporate area.
No.
I want it to be so that multiple teams can win, because teams have to build legacies. Yeah. And last season, the 6 trophies that were contested were won by 5 teams. KC, of course, doubled up because they won the Olivier Shield and the Manning Cup.
Yeah.
But there was a nice share, a nice spread, and I like that.
Yeah.
I saw at one point today, George, you were paying tribute to the coaches, and I think Wellington, the ISSA president, also chimed in with the enormous job that the coaches have been doing, because a lot of them aren't paid for the job, and they actually go into their own resources sometimes to keep their teams afloat. And in the audience, I saw people like Glenworth Hyde, who successfully coaches Clarendon College. They call him Teacher. He had that nickname from he was a schoolboy playing for Clarendon College. And I keep saying that as far as my recollection of schoolboy football is concerned, I don't think that there are many players I would put ahead of Lenny Hyde as schoolboy talent that I had seen.
Yeah, well, I would say that based on what people said about him, the Lenny Teacher Hyde was in a very, very small group of elite schoolboy footballers. Of course, generational differences will dictate that we cut down to different players. And I unfortunately didn't see him as a schoolboy. I saw some of him as a Premier League player for Boys Town before the injuries took their toll. But from my generation, oh God, Lance, Mariah, if you're a boy in Jamaica and you were born in and you were in high school in the 90s, and I was in high school between 1992 and 1999 for that 7-year period, there was nobody to us like Ali Rose. Ali Rose was our God. Still is our high school footballing God. Nobody to us like Ali Rose, so he is our hero.
But the late 80s generation would tell you Walter Boyd.
But of course.
Waver Hines gave me stories about him while attending Camperdown High School, would leave school early to watch Excelsior play. Because he couldn't miss watching Walter Boyd play.
I see down man told you that.
Camperdown schoolboy, leaving school early, missing classes.
To watch Excelsior.
To watch Excelsior play, all because of Walter Boyd.
I must have told you this before. Ali Rose was such, the currency of Ali Rose and St. George's College at that time was such that we had a friend at high school, I think he works at the National Water Commission now, Dane Rose, who couldn't play football to save his life. And in a tough school like I went to in that time, you had to have something about you to not be picked on, to not be, pushed around. His thing about him was that he was Ali Rose's brother.
I know.
So we didn't have any way to check. So Dane Rose convinced us for 4 years, for 4 of the 5 years we spent together there, that he was Ali Rose's brother. And he got through. It was late that somebody dug and realized that. What this boy?
So why he never brought Ali Rose to meet you all at school?
Well, we kept asking him, say, yo, you bring in Ali, come talk to me. Yeah, man, I'm going to do it. Even now. So Dane Rose tricked us into believing that Ali Rose, but Ali Rose, the currency, that man was special as a schoolboy footballer. Special. That's my hero, Lance. Yours was Teacher, and different generations has different ones.
Yes. There was a St. Jago player, Stylo Ebanks.
Oh, Dennis. Oh, he played for Flyer Kickers in the St. Catherine top division.
He was also pretty special. There were many special ones.
Yes.
But just before we wrap this segment, we know KCR are the defending champions in the Manning Cup, and Garv Messier in the Da Costa Cup. This season expected to be a very open season, hard to predict who will win. I gather that Kingston College have lost pretty much all of their players, so they're a new squad coming in. but they've been so strong in under 14 and under 16 competitions for so many years now that we expect Kingston College still to be a tremendous force. Jamaica College, we understand, has some players from St. Lucia and other places in the Caribbean, which is something we're seeing more of in school sports in Jamaica, and something I think we should welcome. And
encourage it.
It just shows the integration of sport in the Caribbean.
So can Ludlow Bernard Lance, Mariah, winning the Manning Cup with KC, winning the Premier League with Harbourview, does he dare win another trophy with Kingston College? What a sequence it would be. It would be an unprecedented
sequence. He has left
sequence.
as the coach, though.
Well, he's not at, Ludlow is not at KC?
He's been replaced by Watson.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I didn't know that. All right, but Ludlow has done what he did. The last thing I'll say is this. Sometimes you see a schoolboy and you just know that schoolboy will be special. I felt that way about Ricardo Fuller. Coming out of Camperdown.
Wiley Boo.
Yes, even though, because of course, as boys, we hear about players from elsewhere, and our friends in our community who went to school in Kingston. We were from Spanish Town. We lived Spanish Town, Old Harbour, Spanish Town. They would tell us, and they spoke about Ricardo Fuller as a Camperdown schoolboy in reverential terms. So when I saw him leave Camperdown, play for Tivoli in the Premier League, and I just said no. And I saw him for Jamaica early at youth level. I said, no, this man has something extra special. And he proved that by virtue of his play in Scotland and in England in the English.
You know, Waver Hines was his captain at Camperdown.
There you go. Waver Hines is featuring a lot in these conversations about football.
He was a pretty tidy central defender, Waver Hines.
He would have been a central defender.
Yeah, why?
Because he's a brute.
What do you mean by that?
He's crude in his methods in terms of
Are
his
we talking about the same Waver Hines, George?
No. Waver Hines is a gentleman. He's my friend.
Yes.
But I'm just saying.
And he was one of the first hosts of the SportsMax.
Yes, and he's a thoroughly decent chap. Very an honourable chap, president and CEO of the West Indies, of the West Players Association. But if I'm picturing Waver Hines as a footballer, Waver Hines would be a crude footballer. He would have no flair. He would not be interested in any pieces of or acts of skill. He'll just keep it simple, and he'd be mean, and he'd be crude, Lance. I'm saying that.
I hope he's watching.
I hope my friend is watching as well.
I think you'll have to explain yourself face to face with Waver when you.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that
because your pronouncements may be misinterpreted by some of our viewers.
Really?
Yeah. Even though you're wearing those colors.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Remember, our viewers belong not only to Jamaica,
Waver
so we
Hines
have
is a
to
member of the
ensure
People's
that.
National Party, and they wear that color that George is wearing.
Power to the people, Waver. Break time, Mr. Producer.